from the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast.
Drought and dry weather has North Dakota producers on edge in agribusiness, cutting through the cattle market clutter.
Demand has been good, but there is this expected supply coming down the road that's going to be larger.
We'll meet one of the real faces of dairy in Wisconsin as this dairyman keeps his focus on conservation and celebrating dairy in the classroom.
Agday, brought to you by the dependable, longest-lasting Chevy Silverado.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Lingering dryness is impacting the livestock markets while an abundance of weekend rain dragging down the grains. The upper Midwest received heavy rain over the weekend. Rivers and streams like the Apple River in Hanover, Illinois are pushing past their banks. Parts of Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Wisconsin receiving several inches of rain as pop-up thunderstorms charged across the Midwest. Some folks are taking the flood in stride or perhaps in paddle. Annie Schlachter of Lena, Illinois posted this photo of her husband as he uses a kayak to check on the corn. Now, as far as corn, we're getting our first look at the crop during dough stage. 8% is there, 5 points behind average. Illinois, 15 points behind in dough. Looking at overall conditions, we see a 2-point drop from last week, 62% now good to excellent. The western corn belt is the big reason behind the decline. Iowa down 3, Nebraska down 4. Once again, there's a big drop in soybean conditions as well. Just 57% is good to excellent. That's down 4 points from last week. Illinois leading the decline. It fell 8 points this past week with 59% now good to excellent. In the West, Nebraska and South Dakota both seeing 4-point drops.
Corn conditions to the east are very uneven, and soybeans continue to be very small because it's just too wet out there, and soybeans don't like wet feet. On the other hand, the south and the west have seen the hot and dry weather that does create the speculative buying, and even though there were a few showers reported over the weekend, there's no real change in the overall trend.
After a wet week, cotton seeing a drop in quality too, 55% now. Good to excellent, that's down 5 points. Meanwhile, with drought lingering in the northern plains, ranchers are putting a lot more cattle into feedlots. The latest Cattle on Feed report shows placements in June are 16% higher than a year ago. Ranchers placed 1.7 million head, marketings and Cattle on Feed both 4% higher than June 2016. Farmers in the northern plains are well aware of how dry it is. They are now resorting to drastic measures to deal with eroding conditions that's destroying crops and pastures. Cliff Naylor reports from North Dakota.
Russell Wagner is cutting 400 acres of Conservation Reserve Program land for feed. It's not nearly enough forage to get his cattle through winter, so other livestock producers are cutting poor quality small grain crops like oats, barley, and hard red spring wheat for hay.
If it can feed a cow, it'll get cut down and turn into some sort of nutrition for the animals.
Wagner feels more than 50% of North Dakota's CRP land should have been opened up for haying because the need for feed is so great and the quality of CRP is marginal.
Unfortunately, CRP hay isn't typically the highest quality because it does have a lot of old dead material in it, so it's not going to be a very high feed value. However, it is great for a filler.
Clay McPeak is cutting 900 acres of CRP. He says it's so dry, he's chopping and baling the same day.
Some of it's a bale an acre, some of it's a little more, some of it's less. It's not real good.
Extension agent Penny Nestor says farmers may soon have more than the quality and quantity of CRP to worry about.
If we don't get rain this year, we don't get a good snowfall this year, we could have drought next year, and that just escalates the issues and the problems associated with that.
Many farmers have carryover hay from last year. That will help them get through the coming winter. But after those reserves are used up, the need for moisture will become even more critical for the 2018 growing season. I'm Cliff Naylor, reporting for Agday.
All right, thanks, Cliff. According to USDA's Crop Progress Report, about 3/4 of North Dakota's pasture and range is rated as poor to very poor. The same holds true for alfalfa. So far, drought and dryness hasn't been enough to stop growth on American ranches. The mid-year cattle inventory numbers are out from USDA. It shows the total herd now 4% bigger than last summer at 103 million head. That's the largest herd in nearly a decade. Beef cow numbers are 7% higher, although replacement heifer numbers are actually down compared to a year ago. Analysts say the numbers show beef cow herd expansion is starting to level off. Speaking of drought and dry weather, wildfires continue to burn out west. Mike Hoffman has more in today's Crop Comments. Mike?
Good morning, Clinton. Some heartbreaking pictures from the California wildfires. Ray Prock shared these pictures from Hornitos, California. He says they were lucky, only losing 30 acres and a few thousand feet of fence. Others were not so lucky. He says the fire was impressive by day and at night. There will be plenty to rebuild once the flames are gone. And in Denver City, Texas, Alan Peters is harvesting rosemary. He says it's a small crop in an area growing primarily cotton and peanuts. Alan says crop conditions are pretty good, but dryland cotton hurts for a little bit of rain in that area. And taking a look at the weather map, you can see a couple of cool fronts going to cause some showers and thunderstorms scattered across parts of the country. We'll show you where those are headed and have your forecast. But first, here are some hometown temps.
Save time each day and receive the latest market prices directly to your cell phone with market updates. It makes it effortless to stay aware of shifting market prices. Just text Markets 8 to 31313 to get started.
We'll continue the cattle conversation from the road as Tyne Morgan asks Naomi Bloom about recent trends and what to watch for. Plus, in our dairy report, meet a dairyman who's managing his resources beyond the milk parlor, and he represents the real faces of dairy. Agribusiness, it was a pretty ugly day for commodities to start the week. Let's get details from the floor of the CME in Chicago.
Sharply lower has been the tone in the live cattle and the feeder cattle. In fact, most of those months traded limit down for a good chunk of the day before showing at least some recovery before the close. And it all has to do with the USDA reports that came out last Friday. The cattle inventory, the semi-annual report, was negative enough as it did show that cattle supplies will be increasing as we go through the rest of the year. But it's really the cattle on feed report that hurt the market the most. It showed higher on-feed numbers than the trade had expected and significantly higher placements than the trade had expected. It's been a sharply lower day in the corn and soybeans and also in the Minneapolis wheat, with Chicago and KC wheat holding more stable here at the Board of Trade. Overall, the forecasts really haven't changed all that much, but it does appear that there was some better than expected rains over the weekend in some of the drier areas of the Midwest and somewhat drier conditions to the north and east. Thanks very much. This is Jack Scoville. I'm Vice President of Price Futures Group here in the CME Group floor with some comments for the markets.
Cattle markets have given their share of excitement in 2017, so what should we expect in the next few months? Tyne Morgan asks a question in today's analysis. Tyne?
Here now with Naomi Bloom of Stuart Peterson. Naomi, these cattle markets can be so frustrating because you can't just watch supply and demand. There's so many outside influences when we look at outside money. But right now, are the charts telling you anything? Are you getting any key signs?
Yeah, the charts actually are on a major level of support. It's a long-term uptrending support level that has been holding since October, and we're sitting right on the cusp of it. And so we've got some major market news coming out with the cattle on feed report, which is expected to show larger supplies. We've got a cold storage report next week, which is supposed to be actually maybe a little bit friendly for the cattle market. So the point is that demand has been good, but there is this expected supply coming down the road that's going to be larger. And so right now, you got the market just at this teeter-totter point where it's trying to decide who's going to win, the demand keeping us up, or is the oversupply potentially going to push prices lower? So be ready, because this next week is going to be critical for prices. If we break below that trend line support level, the funds are going to come in and sell it off hard.
Yeah, so let's say the funds do come in. We know they like these cattle markets. We know they like to play in these cattle markets. Any warnings for that?
Well, I would say have plan B ready to go. Consider some puts just in case. See what you can do to lock in prices, because at the same time, we don't have any big reasons for the market to rally substantially. So if you're locking in sales that are profitable, you can feel good about it, because unless there's a major supply disruption down the road, which I can't imagine what it would be, prices are going to probably be sideways. We might edge on a little lower just because of the potential of oversupply.
All right, Naomi, thank you so much. Stay with us. We'll have more Agday when we come back.
To discuss marketing strategies, call 800-334-9779 or visit stewartpeterson.com.
Welcome back to Agday meteorologist Mike Hoffman. Mike, as we look at this front draped over the northern plains, are those folks going to get any rain out of this?
You know, it's usually hit and miss as these fronts come across the Dakotas. It seems like the moisture gets to the front a little bit too late for them, and that happens sometimes in a drought. It just kind of perpetuates itself. So we have that front as well as the front in the southeast. Both of those will be the focus for some showers and thunderstorms, putting the maps into motion. You can see not a lot of moisture even as it gets a little farther south and east. In the southern portions of the Dakotas, our models popping up some showers and thunderstorms this afternoon, and very hit and miss to the south, especially near that area of low pressure. That's your best chance. Some decent moisture continues in the southwest. This is your wet time of year, I suppose, and you get every day some spotty afternoon showers and thunderstorms. High pressure dominating most of the central and eastern Corn Belt even as we head into tomorrow morning. Showers and thunderstorms do start to move into the northwestern lakes as well as the central plain states, Nebraska, eastern South Dakota, southern Minnesota, as we head through the nighttime hours tonight and into tomorrow morning. By afternoon, though, this front does get a little more moist, more showers and thunderstorms from northern Michigan all the way down into central and eastern Iowa. And this returning front, as a warm front, will be a little bit more of a focus for showers and storms this afternoon as well. And you can see, again, the hit and miss activity out west. Now you can also see the next front just doesn't want to come inland. That's been the case for most of this summer so far. Precipitation estimates past 24 hours. Some decent amounts in places in the southern portions of the plains, southern Mississippi Valley, also the eastern lakes into the northeast. Adding in the next 36 hours, you'll see how we do kind of add some in places. There'll be some scattered areas of decent moisture, maybe 1 to 2 inches in places across the north central plains, northeastern plains, as well as the southwest and also the southeast. But again, it is summertime. We're not seeing any widespread soaking rains. It's just hit and miss wherever the thunderstorms pop up and move. There are the afternoon high temperatures, pretty hot and humid from Rapid City southward, warming up once again into the Ohio Valley and the Great Lakes, although it's still kind of comfortably warm air. Low temperatures tonight going to stay pretty warm for the central and southern plains as well as the southeast. A lot more comfortable Ohio Valley, northeast, and the Great Lakes. Tomorrow then you can see it cools down a little bit. Northern plains still very hot and humid, central and southern sections. Warms up a little bit more into the Ohio River Valley. And here's the jet stream. Something kind of interesting. This trough that digs in later this week, you'll notice how our model just kind of, well, cuts a little area of low pressure off in the east. That'll be interesting. That's not typical for summer, but we'll see how that works out as we head into next week. That's a look across the country. Now let's take a look at some local forecasts. Heading out to Vernal, Utah, first of all, cooler with an afternoon shower and thunderstorm likely, maybe even a couple of them, high of 78. El Dorado, Arkansas, partly sunny, hot and humid, high of 93. And Wheeling, West Virginia, partly sunny, high 75.
We'll check dairy markets, production totals, and meet a Wisconsin farmer dedicated to improving soil and the land he lives on. A real face of dairy is up next. And these fourth graders learn the important role of agriculture in Wisconsin state history. Details as we head in the country.
Agday, brought to you by Balchem, standing beside you for 50 years, bringing real results to the dairy industry. Now through the Real Faces of Dairy project, you can share your story at realfacesofdairy.com.
USDA rolling out its second quarter milk production numbers from April to June. U.S. dairy cows pumped out a little more than 55 billion pounds of milk. That's up nearly 2% from the same 3 months last year. Cow numbers were also higher, up 76,000 compared to 2016. Now, California maintained its lead with the highest total production, but was one of 5 states producing less than a year ago. Texas, however, seeing the greatest output increase at 15% higher. Soil sure seems like a long way from the milk aisle, but one Wisconsin dairyman is making caring for the land a top priority when it comes to producing a top product. And it's helping rural and urban dwellers work together. Betsy Gibbon introduces us to Jeff Indris, one of the real faces of dairy.
For Jeff Indris, the responsibility of a good producer goes further than just working with cattle.
We always need to be striving and doing things and looking for new ideas that help with water quality.
It starts in the soil. His perspective runs in the family, passed down through the generations from Jeff's grandfather, who made his own conservation plan in the 1940s.
What, do you got herd health going on yet?
Now this fourth-generation farmer is making sure the land will see longevity well past his daughter Sarah.
In order for that to happen, we need to be good stewards of the land, be progressive and innovative with our new technologies.
It's more than a thought, but an effort.
I think you have so much more to gain by being out in front and leading it and being proactive and looking for the new ideas.
Jeff has taken steps to preserve water quality and get others involved so regulations don't regulate farmers out of business.
You regulate a farmer, now you've taken away a number of options that we may never have even thought of before.
He founded a group called Yahara Pride Farms in 2011. He lives within the Yahara watershed, a 540 square mile watershed now threatened by runoff, urban stormwater, and wastewater. Unlike the recent battle in Des Moines, Iowa, where it was a rural versus urban battle over runoff, the city of Madison and other communities are collaborating with farmers, environmental services, and residents to manage the problem, showing rural and urban interests can coexist.
That's really unique and really key for this to be successful in the future.
Producers like Chuck Rip with Rip's Dairy Valley also lives in the watershed. He joined the Yahara Pride Farms effort too.
The dairy farmers are very progressive and aggressive, so we'll make the moves that we need for us to be able to stay profitable and to be able to stay in business for generations to come.
In addition to the collaboration, a project to reduce phosphorus over a 20-year period was created. Financial contributions are given to farmers for stormwater retention ponds, harvestable stream buffers, strip tillage, and manure injection.
We've got a couple of practices that we brought to the watershed, and the county are supporting cost-share programs for farmers to upgrade equipment so they can actually do those practices.
Participating farmers document confidential data, the farm's energy use and greenhouse gas emissions, measuring to see what they can improve and what they're doing well.
That took time. We would get maybe 30 or 40% of the data from them on what was happening out in the fields. And in 2016 now, we just are finishing up our phosphorus report. We had 100% participation with the farmers enrolled in our program.
On his own operation, Jeff is stockpiling and composting liquid and solid manure together. It's a sustainable way to manage manure, creating a product that's perfect for farm fields.
We do see a little bit of a yield bump where we're using the compost.
And it's not a runoff risk if used correctly.
It's no longer a threat for runoff. It actually absorbs moisture.
A pride in his farm, now reaching beyond the barn. Reporting in Waunakee, Wisconsin, I'm Betsy Gibbon.
Now, Jeff encourages farmers to discuss their environmentally friendly practices with customers. He also recommends getting involved in local government, adding that it's critical because that body's the one making decisions for the region. One more dairy story for you, and it celebrates the power of the curd in the story.
In the Country, sponsored by Kubota's full line of field-proven hay tools. Explore the full lineup at Kubota.com or visit your local Kubota dealer today.
Many elementary students learn about their state history when they're in the 4th grade. And when you're a 4th grader in Wisconsin, well, you probably don't need to think too hard what they'll be learning. Although 4th grade is the year most school kids learn about Wisconsin agriculture, this was the first year for curds in the classroom. At this elementary school in Poignette, Wisconsin, a special visitor from the Wisconsin Milk Marketing Board stopped by at the end of the year. They were talking about the role that dairy products have in healthy eating.
A lot of 4th graders have never even been to a farm before, and when you ask them what's agriculture, they don't even know what that means. So I think it's really important. It gives them a whole new appreciation of our state too, and it makes them very proud Wisconsinites.
I'm going to be in 4-H this year. And maybe in the dairy barns I could tell people about the dairy products made from the cows there.
To help kick off the dairy days of summer, the Milk Marketing Board delivered fresh cheese curds to 1,000 4th grade classrooms across the state. Now that sounds like a pretty good day at school. That's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. Start your day with us. For Betsy Gibbon, Tyne Morgan, and Mike Hoffman, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day in farm country.
Agday is powered by Ram Trucks, America's longest lasting pickups.